I have in front of me here the Triumph Bonneville T100, and of course Triumph have just brought out some new limited editions in the Stealth colour scheme, so now there are more colour options than ever. The one I've got here today is in the competition green and ironstone, and it is absolutely stunning. It's a beautiful looking motorcycle. The quality of finish throughout the whole bike is first class, and it's a real head-turning motorcycle. You've got this beautiful, lovely bench seat with the white piping on here, and it gives you a lovely riding position, and you can adjust your position forwards or backwards by an inch or half an inch, whatever you want, to get that perfect riding position, whereas on a scooped out seat you can't. The reach for the handlebars is absolutely gorgeous, and it is a most beautiful looking motorcycle. Looking ahead, you've got these beautiful analog gauges here. You've got the speedometer and the rev counter. It's like a work of art. It's absolutely stunning, and the handlebars are chrome. It's so beautiful. I can't get over it. A lovely chrome filler cap. It just feels like you're on a classy machine, and I absolutely love this bike. Now here's the thing. For me, I think the 900cc Bonneville engine is absolutely perfect. It suits this bike down to the ground, and for the real world, everyday riding, the 900 is spot on. It's all the power and torque you'll ever need, and it just makes the bike such a joy to ride. If you were going to do more motorway, mile crunching, dual carriageways, freeways, then perhaps the 1200 would be better, because it gives you just that little bit more power, a little bit more acceleration. But this, in everyday terms, is absolutely spot on, and I absolutely love it. I really think it gives you the best of everything. Now the gearbox is slick, the clutch is light, accelerates beautifully. It's got a wonderful sound with the twin pea shooter exhaust pipes, one either side. It handles beautifully, it turns beautifully, it takes the bumps perfectly fine on the rubbish roads that we have here and there, and on the smooth roads it's just a dream ride. It's a beautiful motorcycle, and of course it looks stunning as well. Like I said, perhaps looking through the mirrors behind you, for me, I can only see a third of the road. So it'd be nicer if the mirrors came out a little wider. And another thing about this bike, it's so simple. You don't have modes, you don't have loads of buttons and dials and things to flick through. You just get on the bike, start it and go, and have the ride of your life. It's that good, it's brilliant. And as I said, these beautiful analog gauges. Now I wish they put these gauges on the Scramblers and on the Rocket 3, because that would just be the perfect addition to those bikes, and I know a lot of people that have commented on the channel would agree with me there. Let me know if you do. But the modern sort of dials on those bikes doesn't suit the bike, and this is just perfect. Walking from front to back, you've got the beautiful spoked wheels with the black rim. That looks lovely. You've got right way up forks, which I always prefer the look of. They look beautiful and they function perfectly well. You've got a single disc brake, but I've tried stopping really hard and it does stop really well, so not an issue there. As I said, it's beautiful paint scheme on the tank, and you've got lots of colours to choose from. Perfect engine, beautiful quality, the pegs, the brakes, the gear shifter, absolutely beautiful quality, and the passenger pegs here, lovely looking pea shooter exhaust, and it sounds nice. It's not easy to make a nice sound on a modern bike because of all the regulations that manufacturers have to go through, but they've managed it with this. You've got this lovely light cluster at the back and indicators, a nice mud guard at the back which goes right to the back of the bike, and you have your number plate fitted to it without the accessory plastic thing that some bikes have. I love twin shocks. They function well, they look nice, and they give you more room inside the bike for the gubbins that have to go here, the electrics and the batteries and all that sort of thing. One thing I would say that could be improved upon is the front mudguard, because you can see a lot of muck in the radiator at the bottom there and underneath. And if they went back to those classic mudguards from the 60s design, where it covers most of the wheel and you have the two sort of supports either side, it would look beautiful. It would be more sort of period classic correct, and the functionality of it would be much better. So if you're listening, Triumph, just put that on one of the bikes. It would be so good. The Triumph Speedmaster, up until now, was my favourite Bonneville, but after having ridden this around for a few days, I can now honestly say that this is my favourite Bonneville, and I'll give you the reasons why. First of all, of course, it's a beautiful looking bike, but it's minimalistic. It doesn't have any extra stuff on it that you don't need. It's just artistic and beautiful. You've got very good suspension, very good handling, very good turning, perfectly good brakes. This wonderful 900cc engine with just the right amount of torque and power for the real world. It's got a bit more ground clearance than a Speedmaster, so you don't ground out the bottom of the bike over speed bumps, and in the corners you don't scrape the pegs like you would with the Speedmaster. So really that's the reason why I think this has pipped it for an everyday bike, for an only bike, or even as a second bike. It really is spot on, and you won't be disappointed if you went out and put your hard-earned cash onto one, or of course get finance on it. It's a perfect bike. You won't be disappointed. Some specifications which I've written down so I don't forget. Price in the UK £9,595 upwards, depending on the model you choose and the colour. You've got the Chrome edition still, and then you've got the new blue Stealth editions coming in. Beautiful, and the standard colours. Lots to choose from, a colour for everybody. Beautiful. Now the bike produces 64 brake horsepower at 7,400 RPM and 80 Newton meters of torque at 3,750 RPM. That's 59 foot-pounds in the USA. Now, if you get this bike A2 restricted for the EU and GB, then you can. It brings it down to the required, I think it's 47 horsepower. And you won't really notice the difference because that takes off the peak power, but up until that point you've got all the torque and most of the power, so you won't notice any difference. And I was speaking to someone at a motorcycle cafe a couple of days ago, a lady rider, and she was worried that if you had the bike A2 restricted, something like this, it would damage the engine, but I said that's not the case at all. All it does is just change the mapping of the engine. A dealer will do that, and when you've passed your full license, you can go back, have it unrestricted, and it'll be back to normal. No damage done whatsoever. This has a 14.5 litre fuel tank, which will give you 68.9 miles per gallon in the UK or 57.3 in the USA, which is pretty good. It's 228 kilograms, which is 502 pounds, and it doesn't feel heavy at all. It's a very nicely balanced motorcycle, and the service interval is every 10,000 miles, which is fantastic. In the modern world, where we've been led to believe that more is always better, more power, more speed, more this, more that, this bike just goes to prove that less is more. So if you're thinking about it, go and buy it. You won't be disappointed.